Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about the central bank's digital currency, or RBI's digital rupee. Now, Reserve Bank of India has commenced India's first digital rupee pilot project in the wholesale segment. The use case for this pilot is a settlement of secondary market transactions in government securities, and 9 banks have been identified for participation in this pilot project. According to central bank, use of digital rupee in wholesale segment is expected to make the interbank market more efficient and reduce transaction costs by preempting the need for settlement guarantee infrastructure or for collateral to mitigate the settlement risks. RBI also has plans to launch the first pilot in digital rupee retail segment within a month in select locations in closed user groups comprising of customers and merchants. So what is a central bank's digital currency and how will digital rupee work and what will be its impact as well? We'll try and understand all these aspects, and for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with Subhomoy Bhattacharjee, who's here with us, consulting editor with Business Standard. Welcome, Subhomoy, to our studios. We're also joined by Dr. Ashok K. Nag. He's a former advisor with the Reserve Bank of India, and Mr. Amit Dubey, digital technology expert and a well-known name, is also with us from this domain. Welcome, both of you gentlemen as well. I'll begin with you, Subhomoy, and let's first start by making our viewers understand, decoding rather, what exactly is digital currency or digital rupee, and also the how and why of RBI working on this proposal, as to why is the central bank working on this, and how did they come to this level of launching the first project in the wholesale segment now?
Well, actually you asked quite a lot, and RBI has issued a concept note on, and which is a very, and I suggest anybody who's interested to go through that concept note. It beautifully explains what the concept of digital money is all about, and in a very simple language. To put it simply, we have heard lots of these. First of all, there's cash, paper, coins. That's the typical form in which currency is seen as. There's also currency, which banks issue by virtue of their position in the system, which is the broader money, which is an electronic ledger, essentially. That is what banks issue. Now, most people tend to understand this. What people don't understand is there's a thing called, but which everybody hears about and speaks about, is a concept called cryptocurrency, which is not mediated by the government or by the central bank, but is a system of decentralized ledger among people who are in that circuit, who essentially are transacting among themselves on a financial network, making settlement of trade or whatever is available on that network. That is a cryptocurrency based on blockchain technology. What is CBDC then? The central bank digital currency says that I am going to allow consumers all the benefits of this cryptocurrency minus all the risk of a cryptocurrency.
Okay.
In other words, it's a central bank designated digital currency, cryptocurrency. Since the word cryptocurrency has got lots of negative and other connotations, central banks across the world use the word central bank digital currency. It goes through the same process of issuance as any other currency by the central bank, except that it's not a paper currency.
Okay.
It is issued by the Reserve Bank, in the case of India, as a currency which people can hold. It is technically slightly different from a currency note that's issued by the government, but the exchange is at exactly at the same rate. There's no difference there. So that means for the public, the CBDC is as genuine, as exactly the same currency as they're holding otherwise.
Okay. So a 100 rupee denomination in digital rupee will be equivalent of a physical 100 rupee note, the value.
Exactly. But why is this necessary? Because currency, the form of currency, is rapidly changing across the world as the technological shape of the world is changing. central banks have decided that since digital currency is going to be something which people are going to get more and more, people are going to transact more, the central banks, especially RBI and quite a few other central banks, agree that therefore this currency, if it has to come, it will be issued only by the central bank, the Reserve Bank of India in this case.
Okay.
And with all the safety mechanism that an ordinary currency has, but the additional flexibility that a digital currency provides.
Okay.
And it'll come in two forms, which is wholesale and retail. We'll come into that later on.
Okay. We'll come to that part as well, as to what's the differentiation there and how is the pilot project supposed to work there. But Dr. Nag, I'd like to bring you in here. You've been with RBI now. As Subhomoy was pointing out, and explaining beautifully as to what exactly a digital currency is. The question is, again, elaborating a bit more on the why and how, why does a central bank need to get into the digital currency space? And if so, how are we doing it?
See, first thing is that we have to understand that when you are talking about central bank digital currency, it's not basically, it is trying to replace the paper currency, because the digital payment should not be confused with the digital currency, because we have already got a huge digital payments with API, Google Pay, all these things. So it is cannot be the goal of Reserve Bank of India to replace this digital payment system, which has taken root in the country and everywhere in the world. Okay. But despite this, if you look at the currency in circulation, which is the paper currency in circulation, not the money which is in the current or savings bank account of the banks, this forms almost more than 49 to 50% of your M1, which is called that money which is used for transaction. This is a transaction money is called the M1 in the Reserve Bank of India parlance, and still now there is a lot of paper currency is used in the case of it. Now paper currency is we want a central bank digital currency is trying to replace the paper currency to the extent possible for as a payments at a retail level. Now question is that the central bank digital currency, which is being now proposed by RBI, which is for the wholesale. Now question is that what RBI is saying in the pilot project press release is that they are trying to do what you call the settlement of the government securities. I have no understanding that why we want to, because today entire current settlement of government securities, entire market percentage is completely digital. Okay. And this is being done. You have to have that is called NDS OM, and CCIL manages those things. Unless you have a bank account. In fact, RBI has started a new initiative, which is a very, very good initiative, what they call RBI Direct Digital. That means I, as an individual, can buy a security from the CCIL currency, government securities, which is being supposed as a state development loan, which has been auctioned. I can participate as a non-competitive bidder.
Okay.
But I require a bank account. When I opened an RBI digital currency bank account with the RBI, and I had to give my bank account.
Okay.
Unless you have a bank account, you cannot open that. So settlement, I do not understand what settlement benefit the banks are going to get by having this central bank currency. Means basically what they're saying. They're saying that you will be able to open an account with central bank, RBI. RBI has already more than 1,600 current account of the various banks, cooperative banks, non-bank financial institutions, all are there. Now, obviously, that is already there. You are already sending money from one account to another account with the RBI's current account. Okay. So I have no understanding, at least I could not understand this entire central bank digital currency or wholesale, which will impact the settlement of government security transaction in the secondary market.
We'll come to that part as well, Dr. Nag. That's a very important aspect, and I'll bring in Subhomoy on that as well. But first, let's understand the technology involved also. Amit, I'd like to bring you in here. In terms of the technology involved, what we want to understand is, because as far as cryptocurrency is concerned, any cryptocurrency, it's based on a blockchain technology. So is it the same technology which will be used in the digital rupee or the central bank digital currency, or is there some other technology which the central bank is working on or is using for this particular digital rupee?
So Vishal, ideally there are two kinds of mechanisms to launch any digital currency: centralized or decentralized cryptocurrencies or digital currencies. Now in this case, this is a centralized. It is not decentralized. So it is basically governed by some body, which is our RBI, and they'll be controlling it all, the regulations or releasing of these currencies. But the ledger will be maintained blockchain. Why it is important? Because we need to provide the same level of security and transparency in the system. See, these two things are very, very important in any digital currency-based transactions, which is actually inherited from Bitcoin or all other kind of digital currencies backbone. So blockchain is this technology which gives you that confidence, and it is not only making it transparent as well as it is also making it secure. Because if you need to change any transaction which has been recorded in that ledger, it is not possible because it is so tightly bound with all other transactions which has happened in previous times. So that is something which is a chain-based system, which is based on the previous hash values of the transactions or the block which has been created, and then a new block is created, and every new transaction is registered with that. So this is something which will be managed and maintained by this entire backbone of technology, which is actually governing this operation. But the key is that anybody can see that ledger, anybody can see the transaction, but they cannot manipulate, they cannot change it. So this gives you the confidence and transparency both. As Dr. Nag has said rightly, that this is to replace the physical currencies. It is basically to build the same level of credibility in the market. So we already have large amount of digital transactions. We are already leading in this. In fact, we are ahead than China. But then it gives you one more flexibility. Normally, when you transfer money from one currency to another currency across the borders, it requires some sort of exchange, or it requires some sort of intermediary in place. They can do this, but in digital currencies, it is peer-to-peer. It can be executed peer-to-peer. So that is something which will enable fast cross-border transactions also with digital currencies.
Okay. Subhomoy, on the wholesale part and the pilot project which has been launched, which Dr. Nag was referring to, Amit also referred to another part of it in terms of cross-border transactions and all that. But coming back to what Dr. Nag was pointing out, what are the benefits when we're talking about the launch in these two segments? One is the pilot project which has been launched in the wholesale segment, and the other when we're talking about the retail segment there specifically. How do we understand the benefits here?
See, it might seem that after all, what is the digital currency doing when after all everything that is in the government bonds market is essentially also digital transaction. So what is the change that's really been brought about? Well, first of all is the designation that it's being traded, some amount of securities in the digital currency. Now, the fact that the digital currency is like to like the same as the ordinary currency might make it seem that it's much ado about nothing. You could say that. But remember, the fact that it is almost exactly the same is something that we are saying today. The reason why the pilot has been brought in is to essentially see whether it actually remains the same. A payment system, much as people like it, has to be very simple, easily understood by people.
Okay.
That's the reason why some payment systems are acceptable to people. Why we don't do barter, why we don't do anything else. Today, a new currency is being introduced. Most probably, there will be no change. And I'm fairly sure there will be no change felt by the transactors, the 9 banks who are going to be participants in that thing. But it's important for the Reserve Bank to go through that confidence building measure, that this is exactly working the way one has anticipated.
Okay.
Which is why they had made a plan right at the beginning that we shall, first of all, will be introducing CBDC as a wholesale product. That is the one which is being launched today. And later, once we develop the confidence, we'll develop CBDC as CBDC-R, the retail, where it will become almost like allowing any person in India to participate in the cryptocurrency market.
Okay. So from a retail consumer's point of view, what changes once this
Not
comes
today,
in?
but it gives the
Later on,
confidence.
yeah.
But it gives them the confidence that this is a tried and tested product. Let's assume the reverse had happened. Supposing today RBI had introduced a pilot CBDC on a retail level across the country without any check. You can be sure that such a product, such a huge change in the payment structure would create a perceived sense of confusion. For instance, if a shopkeeper says that I don't want I trade the CBDC 100 rupee note at say 90 rupee. I don't treat it as a bank tender, as a bank note. What safeguards are there? There are lots of things that goes into the sanctity of a payment system.
Okay.
And that payment system sanctity to be able to, so the very fact that it's being traded today and it'll basically will not feel anything particularly different except to the connoisseur of, understanding the monetary policies and things is what is necessary for people later on.
Okay.
When CBDC comes to the retail market to feel, yes, we make the switch.
Okay.
For instance, to give an example, when digital currency was introduced through the different platforms, people were hesitant. मैं 100 रुपए लूँ, मैं 10 रुपए लूँ, or should I take cash? The very fact that today people take those digital currencies, transactions, is because of what? Is because of the fact that people have developed the confidence that it means the same thing.
And that is why there's a deep penetration.
And that's why there's a deep penetration. And that's why India is leading the world in terms of the fintech revolution, as Mr. Gul pointed out. Now, that's exactly what is necessary.
Okay.
That you bring in that confidence, and obviously RBI cannot afford to be doing something as fundamental as rupee, a speculation on that.
Okay.
Which is why it sort of introduced something where practically very little will be changed other than, getting into, unless one gets into very detailed understanding of where are the slight changes here and there.
Okay.
But that's necessary.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Nag, suggestions from your side in terms of, because this is a pilot project, but, there'll be another one in the retail segment and there'll be a complete rollout as well. What needs to be done in terms of obviously keeping the safeguards in mind and also the facilitation, the consumer facilitation, so that the end consumer ultimately the real test will be in the retail segment.
Yeah, I see my view, because I have done actually extensive research on this area, and I have written a full article which has been published by ORF, that is the Observe Research Foundation, the protocol for creating a kind of digital currency at the retail segment. And what is required essentially to have a retail digital currency, central bank digital currency, because there are other monetary policy implications if you start with the wholesale currency. And there are a lot of, one of the major monetary policy implication is the disintermediation by the bank. Okay, because suppose all the corporates starts having accounts with central banks of India, so that they can settlement has taken place at the central bank itself. So there is no question of any kind of a further intermediation. So the banks, if you look at the bank's current account, what you call CASA, which is the cheapest source of money for the banks, and what is the share of the corporates, large corporates in the current account, you will understand what will the problem. Okay. So I'm not going to details of this. Central bank digital currency wholesale, e-RUPI, which RBI has started as a pilot, is going to be stillborn. There is no doubt about me. What is required for RBI to start? For example, there is a lot of experiments have been done across the world for central bank digital currency. RBI is not the latest entrant. It's the latest entrant, not the earliest entrant. In China, they have started eCNY, where 280 million is the users at the present stage. Okay. Now, obviously, this kind of, there is no question any blockchain will be used for that, because blockchain required a third-party verification. This kind of transactions, the amount of transactions to be verified by any third party is beyond comprehension, cannot happen. Okay. So what is required for RBI to do it? Learn the experience, for example, Paraguay. Paraguay has started a kind of a digital peso. as a pilot, like RBI is doing it, and they have some experiences. RBI has to go through these experiences, which is that across the world. Okay, e-krona was started by Sweden. So there are a huge kind of experiments have been done. Let us try to understand what is the kind of things, because India, the amount of currency which has been produced by physical currency, rupee, we pay, I think 30,000 crores is direct payment which is made for these things, apart from the infrastructure. If we can have a 10 to 20% reduction, it's a huge kind of benefit. And second thing is that you have to mimic what the paper currency does. If I pay you 10 rupees, okay, I don't have to have a bank account. If I want to pay 10 rupees somebody, I don't need his bank account. Cannot be account to account transfer. It should be one wallet to wallet transfer. It can happen. It is possible. Technology is there, and they don't require blockchain. If you bring, my point is that if you bring blockchain, it will be the death sentence of any central bank digital currency.
Let me bring in Mr. Dubey on that. Mr. Dubey, your views on what Dr. Nag is referring to in terms of the technology involved and in terms of global best practices as well to further refine our own product.
Yes, Vishal. So many countries have started the proof of concept. In fact, Japan has started the proof, as Sir has said rightly, and China is doing their proof of concept, and Japan and Nigeria launched their digital currency recently last year. So all G20 countries, so they all are trying to explore the possibilities with all these aspects, whether we should go to blockchain-based backbone or whether we should have other flexible backbone. But see, everything has their own pros and cons. We also need to ensure the security and the tightness of any such digital platform. Otherwise, there'll be crime issues, there will be frauds, there will be possibilities of money laundering, and also that all is also to be considered. That's why everybody is taking safe bid. They are just trying to launch it in a limited scope, and then with some regulations and control, and then also looking at the results and prospects of it in near future, and then probably they'll scale it up further with modified technology. So I'm not denying that argument what the Sir has said, that blockchain will definitely restrict it to a great extent and it will not give that flexibility, but it gives you lots of credibility. And that is something which is also required when we want everybody around the world to go for that currency, because any such currency which is replacing a physical currency requires the same level of credibility in the market, and that should not become a digital payment. It is a digital currency actually. So if we are having it in our wallet and if we are giving a peer-to-peer transaction, we should rely on that technology which is holding that ledger. Otherwise, and the ledger, mostly these ledgers are blockchain based, that's why I have recommended. But then otherwise there are many other ways to maintain that, but whether they'll give the same level of credibility or not. So that is my arguments over here. But many countries, they have started blockchain based backbones. Many countries, they have coming up with their own framework. But these all are at POC stage right now. None of these have come up with a full-fledged proof or the validated framework which anybody can copy or run it. So I think India is also in that race. We are not too late, we are not too early, but we are trying out. We want to test that water at the right time, so that by the time there are many other technical enhancement in near future, we should also be part of that. I think that is something which we want at this stage right now.
Okay, indeed. And the product will further improve with the feedbacks and the learnings in this curve as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Amit Dubey, Dr. Ashok Nag, and Subhomoy as well for sharing your views and insight with us and our viewers, as our experts were pointing out all about the digital currency and the central bank's digital currency, digital rupee, of which the pilot project in the wholesale segment has been launched after some time, almost a month. It will be the turn of the retail segment, and based on the learnings from there, perhaps in the near future, we might see full-scale rollout of the digital rupee as well. We'll keep a close watch on all the developments here and come back again with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.